Who would you rank higher in your all-time greatest players list? Do you value more the longevity of Carmelo Anthony or the prime of Tracy McGrady? We're going to make the case for each player, and then I'll reveal who should be ranked higher according to the all-time greatest NBA book, where I wrote about the 100 greatest players in NBA history. We're going to start with the player that came into the league first, which was Tracy McGrady. Here's a graphic of the number of years he played at an all-star level, the combined numbers that he averaged, and the accolades that he was able to obtain. Keep in mind that this also includes where he ranks among the top 75 in various statistical categories. The first thing we can point to build McGrady's case is his ability to carry a team with very little talent to the playoffs. It started right from the beginning when he was traded to the Orlando Magic. He was put in a unique situation that very few young players would have been able to overcome. He joined forces with Grant Hill, which made the Magic one of the favorites to win the title. But after only 4 games, Grant Hill ended up having season-ending surgery on his ankle. Now the burden was placed on a 21-year-old kid that was never in the starting rotation for a full season. He had to carry this team offensively with Darrell Armstrong as a second scoring option, with the rookie Mike Miller, and with the frontcourt duo of Andrew DeClercq and Bo Outlaw. They combined to average more fouls than field goals made. This was a disaster waiting to happen. But we saw McGrady mature light years ahead of schedule, and he was easily the league's most improved player. We saw him increase his scoring average from 15.4 to 26.8. So forget about him winning the Most Improved Player of the Year award. He was putting himself near the front of the line for the league's best player. And he was in that conversation for the next 7 years. During his time with Orlando, they could never build a winning team around him. Grant's injury problems were holding them hostage. However, it was his individual greatness that made him a playoff team for 3 straight years. In fact, in the 2001/02 season, the Magic was a top 5 team in the Eastern Conference with the exact same roster that we just discussed. Then in the following season, he had what is widely considered one of the greatest individual seasons from a wing player. This is the next important point to build his case, is that his peak was insanely high. He averaged a ridiculous stat line of 32.1 points per game on 46% shooting, 6.5 rebounds per game, and 5.5 assists per game. He is only the 5th player to average over 32 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists for a season. This was truly an MVP caliber season. The only reason why he was snubbed was because the Magic won 42 games. If he wasn't stuck with such a terrible roster, I believe there's no question that he would have won the award. Could we ever say the same for Carmelo? Let's hold that thought. Keep in mind that Tracy outperformed players such as Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, Shaquille O'Neal, and Allen Iverson that season, and they were all in their prime. Just imagine what he could have done with a team that didn't resemble the Bad News Bears. Speaking of which, we also want to consider what he accomplished once he joined forces with Yao Ming and the Houston Rockets. From 2005 to 2008, they had 3 50-win seasons. In 2008, they peaked at 55 wins, which included the record-breaking 22-game winning streak that he was a part of. That's the 4th longest streak in NBA history. What makes that even more impressive is that Yao Ming was not present for the last 10 games of that streak. This team was starting to figure things out, and it sucks that their star center got injured at the worst possible time. With that in mind, that now brings us to the case against him, which is the lack of playoff success. He was never able to get past the first round while in the starting rotation, and he certainly had his opportunities. We have the 2002 first round series against the Charlotte Hornets, where I discussed in a previous video that he missed his best shot of leading his team to the second round. He held a 3-1 series lead against the Detroit Pistons the following year. They lost to the Dallas Mavericks in 2005 after winning the first 2 games on the road. And in 2007, they lost to the Utah Jazz in 7 games, despite having home court advantage. For a player of his caliber, there aren't many things we can say to defend this black mark in his resume. For some reason, he could just never close it out when his team was in a position to advance. Now we get to the case of Carmelo Anthony, with the same graphic that we placed for T-Mac. The biggest achievement of his career is that he is currently 9th in the all-time scoring list. That is something that we just can't gloss over, and I believe it's the main reason that he was selected as one of the 75 greatest players in 2022. There's no question in my mind that he's worthy of being on that list. We're talking about one of the greatest bucket getters ever. This explains why he won the scoring title in 2013 and finished in the top 3 5 times. Speaking of which, the numbers indicate that this was Melo at his peak. He averaged 28.7 points per game on 45% shooting, 6.9 rebounds per game, and 2.6 assists per game in the 2012-13 season. His tremendous year pushed the New York Knicks to the best record that they've had since the start of the millennium. They won a total of 54 games. He was a leader of a true championship contender. Although the Knicks had a lot of great pieces, we want to keep in mind that players such as Amari Stoudemire, Raymond Felton, Tyson Chandler, and Iman Shumpert all suffered injuries throughout the year. But the Knicks wisely saw this as an opportunity for Carmelo to create mismatches by sliding him over to the power forward position. He played power forward 78% of the time, according to Basketball Reference. That allowed him to spread the floor with his outside shooting and to use his quickness to get easy baskets at the rim. It makes you wonder how lethal he could have been in today's league, where a lot of teams play positionless. It begs the question because he finished 3rd in MVP voting that season. This came during a time when players such as LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Kevin Durant, and Chris Paul were all in their prime. That's some serious competition, but that just shows how impressive he was at his peak. Now we can talk about what he accomplished in the playoffs, and he had relatively good success. We have the 2009 playoffs, where he led the Denver Nuggets to the conference finals. That series against the Lakers was very competitive, and they pushed the eventual champions to 6 games. But that's as far as he's ever gone. For his 19-year career, he's only been past the second round twice. And for the last 4 years with the New York Knicks, he failed to carry his team to the playoffs. Keep in mind that this occurred between the ages of 29 to 32. If you think injuries has something to do with the Knicks underachieving, well, think again. The 2014-15 season was the only time during that 4-year span where he missed more than 10 games. He was still in his prime, and he was relatively healthy. I don't think anyone would describe the East as a stacked conference during that time, but he couldn't carry a team quite like T-Mac could. Now in his defense, I will say that Carmelo deserves some slack for the lack of playoff success he's had. He's had some very bad luck when it comes to his teammates. The best teammate that he's had during his prime was a 32-year-old Chauncey Billups, and he only lasted 2.5 seasons. Before that, he had Allen Iverson for 1.5 seasons. Then there was Amari Stoudemire, who was playing out of his mind for literally 1 season before he suffered a series of injuries that ended his prime prematurely. So honestly, who could blame him for the lack of playoff success that he's had? Now it's time for me to make my selection. I have Tracy McGrady ranked over Carmelo Anthony. The reason is that I think that his peak was much better. If you were to talk to any person who grew up watching basketball during the early to mid 2000s, you'll find many fans claiming that T-Mac's prime was just as good, and if not better, than Kobe Bryant's. For the record, I don't believe that's true, but you'll find many fans who firmly believe this. I might be remembering wrong, but I don't think Carmelo ever had that kind of treatment. And there are even more fans that are totally convinced that he would have been one of the 30 greatest players if he didn't have such an unlucky career. And they might be onto something. For example, I recently released a new book where I count down the 300 greatest seasons in NBA history. That list is only accounting for the regular season. And I had Tracy's 2002-03 season just outside the top 50. I thought it was that good. Now Carmelo's best season, his 2013 campaign, let's just say is nowhere near the top 100. That's how far apart their primes were, in my opinion. To put it simply, McGrady was just a better player. For one, he's just as good of a scorer. In fact, Carmelo never averaged over 30 points per game. In Tracy's case, he averaged over 32 points in 2003. There were also 7 times that he averaged over 5 assists per game. He peaked at 6.5 in 2007. In Carmelo's case, his career high is 4.2, and that was the only time that he averaged more than 4 assists. The reality is that Melo has always been a scorer first, a rebounder second, and a playmaker occasionally. Even then, McGrady was just as good of a rebounder. He averaged 5.6 for his career to Anthony's 6.2. The numbers clearly indicate that he's a more complete player. As far as his lack of playoff success, check out his combined averages for the playoffs between 2001 to 2005. That's 31.6 points per game on 44.5% shooting, 6.8 rebounds per game, and 6.1 assists per game. I mean, come on. We can't seriously put all the blame on him for his bad luck in the playoffs. A lot of it had to do with key players being injured in the worst possible time. So for me, I value his prime more than Carmelo's remarkable longevity. In all honesty, if he would have performed just a little better in the playoffs, then there would be no case to put McGrady over Anthony. But he didn't do that much better. Although it was a very close call for me, that is why I sided with T-Mac. Now it's time for you all to weigh in on the discussion. Who do you have ranked over the other, and why? Let me know in the comments section. Thanks for watching.